Welcome to Healings and Meditations with Frank Jordan and the Earth Mind Think Tank Group. We welcome all listeners and chatters. Any questions can be called in to 1-775-657-5973. 1-775-657-5973. If you're in the chat room on Wolf Spirit Radio, which is wolfspiritradio.com/wolfchat, please post questions in uppercase letters, in capital letters. Thank you. Now on with the show. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio. March the 9th, 2014. Good evening, Frank. How are you?
Good evening. Well, I'm here with great anticipation tonight. We've had such wonderful things happening within the Earth Mind Think Tank group this last couple of weeks, and I've been spending quite a bit of time meditating and listening and learning, literally, how to communicate this to people, what's happening now. And to listen to you talk pre-broadcast here, to what shows you've been working with this afternoon, this seems to be rather an international conversation that's going on. Not only the growth of consciousness, but the stellar winds, so to speak, and cosmic flows and galactic energy that are coming in. And so this could be a very interesting evening as we delve into those aspects of consciousness. And what brought me to it is the realization of the flow that have been coming in our private meditation group, the Earth Mind Think Tank group, because we've been having direct communication with the galactic, what I call a galactic flow. This is a set of frequencies and sounds that come in, and these have been coming in off and on infrequently, but more and more recently, and they carry information in the frequencies and tones and sounds that come in. And I've often asked them, well, why don't you just talk to us? Because what they said is telepathic communication, and we have to be in a certain step-back state to understand what's coming through. But I recently this week, I've learned how to do that, how to listen more closely and understand or allow those frequencies to tweak my inner knowing and to translate their flows of information into human consciousness. And so we'll be talking about that. How's your guys doing in that respect, JP? Are you learning how to listen?
Patience is a very interesting, learning patience is often a hard story. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The way to learn patience is that it's basically pushed and stretched every time. And you allow it. You just keep forgiving and allow it and allow a bit more and allow a bit more and allow a bit more. And eventually your tolerance builds up. And I think it's very good to be tolerant to certain things and not be irritated, but sometimes irritation denotes that there's a sensitivity there. It's a trigger or an allergy. You could look at it one way, that it's an allergy, or that's a trigger for a hurt that has been kind of buried and like a shard of splinter that holds itself under the skin.
Well, once you achieve that clarity to where those shards under your skin don't tweak a negative response, that's that point of I can't call it disinformation, but detachment, where you become the observer, and no matter what happens out there, it just tweaks little points of interest in you, and you observe and rather than interpret with what you already know, we're learning to listen for what we don't know, and I think that's the critical thing we're coming to now. I know I've been having some incredible experiences this week in downloading information that is not in the group mind consciousness. And just before I tuned in for the show, I was reading some Facebook things that were sent to me by a member of the group concerning William Tiller's work and how he's defining the energy systems. And it's such a delight to me to realize that what he's talking about is the same thing I talk about when we're discussing the subtle energies, the subtle energy system that underlies all physical energy out here. When we're talking about consciousness, of course, we have our conscious, interactive, laterally programmed thinking mind of A plus B equals C, which we have to relate to in our conscious mind in order to gain understanding. At least that's what we've been programmed to think. But then, when you step back into the subconscious mind, that's a different world altogether, where it's not a world of thinking, A plus B equals C, but it's a world of feeling, A, B, C. And then through that connection of understanding feeling and letting feeling tweak your consciousness and throw up the mental, emotional pattern that you're listening to or trying to learn about or change. That's the feeling aspect of it is what Tiller hasn't modified yet. But I was trying to explain that, I think, in our last broadcast, the difference between thinking and feeling, and what is the difference between resonating information that you already know or feeling information and internalizing that information so you can express it verbally, mentally, consciously, interactively. So emotion, I think, is a foundation that the scientists started looking for, of understanding how to go from the abstract conscious mind into the unconscious mind, and then on into the subtle energy mind, where it's packets of energy. It's like photons of energy that are associated, pulled together, so that thought or transmission of knowledge becomes an impulse rather than something that has to be downloaded through a lateral string of consciousness. And that thought impulse is a packet of information that just, when you get it, it just arrives. It's that aha moment. Suddenly you've got it, and everything just opens up from that. And so how do you and your guys relate to that?
Well, that's again, I was talking about this earlier on the show, and this is the moment that we call initiation, is when you go from one level of understanding to another. For instance, you might have somebody who works in a local bank, and they may meet somebody who works in, say, Wall Street. And the guy from Wall Street is really world-wise, knows what everything's going, all the crookery that's going on, all the skullduggery. But the person in the bank is just serving the whole kind of machine of it. And when they find out what's going on in the other world, there's a kind of awakening and a sense of sense. Everything makes sense. All the weird things that seem to not make sense do make sense, because you're looking at things from a higher perspective. You're standing up above the maze instead of looking at the walls and corners.
Yeah, the common means of communication becomes clearer then, extrapolating information from patterns and form. What I'm looking at and considering is what it takes to stimulate our DNA, because DNA understands our languages. And so yes. I've been and any language, spoken language, affects DNA. The Russians have proved this in their work, that the DNA responds to language. Well, what we're talking about here is being able to communicate with our organs, our bodies, our systems, our DNA, because the DNA has these incredible histories of knowledge that go back for millions of years, hundreds of millions of years possibly. We don't have a clue what the source of DNA is. It certainly isn't the world we know here at present. But in my experiences of following the consciousness of DNA back in time, and going through the various regions and realms that DNA has passed through to get to this point of extrapolating life here on Earth. It's been fascinating to realize that there's one common language that understands all languages within the DNA, and that DNA is what rises up into our level of intelligence as knowing, all knowing, and what's interesting to me there too is that's what brings me to this postulation that it is frequencies of light, that knowledge is light held in form, just as DNA has the form of communication that operates our bodies. Light can have communication forms that can transcend this physical plane of consciousness that we relate in up into higher dimensions or down into lower dimensions. So when we, in our experiments, and our group experiments a lot, in using consciousness and what we can do with it, even out to changing the weather in the oceans and affecting earthquakes and Earth mind and daily course of consciousness and all of that, it comes down to understanding that it gets more and more simple all the time rather than complicated. The scientists are trying to figure out machinery now. William Tiller is. I didn't get to listen to all three of his programs, but it really fascinated me the fact that they are defining what we talk about. And that's not surprising to me, because in the past we've usually been about 10 or 15 years ahead of them around the curve. But they are catching up with us and giving us a language now, level of perception, where we can communicate what we know or what we're learning or how to do things. And this is fascinating to me because it's doing exactly what I've always said is possible. That's the power of the mind and this all creative, inclusive mind that we are a part of. It's simply learning how to bridge that unconscious level of states of awareness and knowledge and bring it up into this consciousness level and then back down into the mid-ranges where everything functions again. And so materialization and dematerialization through the 0 point is simply a matter of understanding how to communicate and how to formulate your thoughts through your intent, your desire and will. Because I learned years and years ago, and that's the basis of my Clearing the Way to Higher Consciousness book, how to access patterns and forms that energetic thought patterns can be stored in our systems, and those thought patterns would create our conscious ongoing reality of personality and character traits and who we think we are. Well, a little child, when he's born, he's innocent of all that stuff. So he downloads from the moment he hits the ground, or actually intrauterine. He starts downloading information through frequencies and thought waves from his mother, and right on up through his years of getting educated. And there is the instinctive level of consciousness that's inherent to the genes that is our animal consciousness, and it pretty much drives our physical reality, because it's been in charge of this physical reality for hundreds and thousands and millions of years as it evolved through the various forms of DNA. But I'm learning now that the history of DNA is one that learns. It learns and evolves through participation and adaptation and growing in whatever environment it experiences. So we, in our higher level of consciousness, when we want to change that or do something with that evolved physical human animal consciousness, if we want to change that system somehow to better health or better utility or higher levels of consciousness, we have to know how to do that. We have to learn how to communicate with the subconscious and on into the unconsciousness and then on down into the DNA levels and to what it understands. In fact, the DNA actually is constituted by the four primary forces as as created and manifested by the fifth force, which is consciousness. So through consciousness, we can access the four levels of consciousness or forces that reflect in the A, E, D, T, or whatever it is of our strands of DNA. When we can learn to arrange and manipulate those with our mind, which we can do, then we will have complete control over the physical body. So healing will simply be a matter of putting, understanding how to direct our intent to manipulate those levels of consciousness. And another thing I've learned over the years is that when you understand something, you have power over it. That's one of my base laws. Is this is why no matter what I've done in life, if there was a mystery to it, whether it be scientific or spiritual or simply how a consciousness works, I've had to understand how it works, and you do that by going beneath the dynamics of what's expressing on the surface out here, and look at what underlies and sustains and supports the consciousness that evolves out here into the appearance of a physical, mental, emotional, interactive life. So that's my statement for the evening. Does anyone have something to add to that?
Well, yeah, Frank, this is David here. I actually, amazingly enough, was actually reading back through Earthmind, your book Earthmind today, and was in the back of it and directly drawn to that section on the DNA where the Russian work that you had cited was in. And I thought that was just amazing and fascinating. And in previous sessions, when you've actually invoked in our meditation that we activate those DNA strands and regenerate them in whatever form, I've actually watched those of my own just kind of move around and realign and remap themselves back in different alignments. So all of that is fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the basic understanding of how things work, is the realization that those four forces, which is the weak energy, weak force, the strong force, electromagnetic energy, and gravity, all are relating directly to what's in those strands of DNA. And those are functional and held together by consciousness, that creative consciousness that pulls that all together in a working system. It extrapolates out as the nuclear acids, but those acids all have frequencies. Yeah. They have pattern intent within them in those structures and formulations of acidic forms. And it's not just chemistry, it's frequencies we're talking about here. And the frequencies, when they interlate through our hologram, become form.
Right. And when the fact that we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago regarding the DNA actually still retaining an etheric presence, even though they had potentially been removed.
Absolutely. Once they're imprinted in the standing waves, I call it, which is the imprint in God's mind, truthfully, this Tiller was just explaining, and it's delightful to me, how the energy within one hydrogen atom holds more potential energy than all the universe does in just one atom, and the fact that energy is what holds the mass of all creativity in form. It must take a tremendous consciousness to hold that all together, so it's all functional as life, and we can interact and participate and play in it. If you notice also, David, somewhere in my book I mentioned it. Our first law is enjoy to play in the universe.
Yes, and in fact, maybe these tones, I haven't checked, maybe you did, but in fact, recently the tones that we're receiving may in fact be doing some of that.
Exactly. That's the whole point of where we're going with this evening's discussion, is how these tones have been altering the physical, chemical DNA makeup of the group, the Earthmind think tank group, and how we were, let's see, after the Saturday show yesterday, we were discussing this, how all of us are feeling a similar state of open awareness and clarity that has not been there previously in any of our lives. I felt it many times, but I couldn't hold it. I could get there for days, weeks, sometimes months, but then I'd get to interacting in the third dimensional plane and lose it. But now it seems to be sustaining. It did the clearing work for us that we're trying to do to achieve the fourth dimensional consciousness. And what this means, Tiller was talking about that background state of open awareness that is so full of energy and potential. That is what holds all physical reality that rises from that state. And so our job is simply to understand that and say, hey, here we are, we've been handed this incredible encyclopedia of knowledge and abilities, and we don't even know how to turn the first page to start reading.
Yeah, and it's very much like our process is one where we are walking around in physical body, but yet still should be open to such a way to receive that. And the last 2 to 3 days for myself, I have been just really reveling in just an amazing level of sovereignty and free will and recognizing minus form how powerful you can become.
Perfect. And I'd like to hear from the rest of the group that are participating or experiencing this state, how these tones have affected you. And the point and purpose being that we want to be able to bring these tones to everyone out there that's listening, or everyone in the world, because this, I think, is the fourth dimension we're moving into. And now we're just learning how to operate it, how to function in it. Rachel, what have you been experiencing the last week or so?
Can you hear me?
Barely.
Okay. I've got this new headset, and I'm learning how to work it. How's that?
Yeah, you're coming through nicely now.
Okay. It was truly profound for me in that when we had those energies come through and then we found out they were actually from the star Sirius, that is a place where I get pulled out at night, and I am truly called to that. And what I found this week for me is all this energy like on my crown and get down in my third eye. It's like all opening, and there's like all this tingling. And then my solar plex is doing something different, but there's a lot of tingling. And then I have had like an area in my body where there was some blockages in my right hip and my right leg, and all of it is like tingling and opening. It was just incredible. And then the next day for me, it like took us into this portal. And the next morning when I woke up and I was getting dressed, there was this energy, a presence behind me, and I'm getting goosebumps as I'm telling you this. And one of the Syrian beings that we spoke with or came forward to talk with us felt like it was behind me, and it felt like this huge, large golden angel. And I felt the wings literally engulf and embrace me into this energy. It was so loving, and I was just sobbing and sobbing. It was like being held in the arms of an angel. And it's like moving us into this space. Some of it is so wordless. And to even add to this, some of it too, like the language of light that I bring forward in all the tones, I do believe that activates part of the DNA. And we're moving into these higher aspects of ourselves. We're embodying who we truly are. It was profound for me. Because of my connection with Sirius, and I had that whole experience with the whale, and the whale came to me with the whale's eye. So it's like connecting us back to the stars and our home.
When you put your finger on it exactly, is that we don't have a language, and this is why I was talking earlier about the language of feeling, and that's what you express so much is the language of feeling, and through the frequencies that you resonate to. And so, in our communications to help to the rest of the world out here through Will Spirit Radio, we need to learn how possibly to develop a new words or expressions that people can relate to in terms of what we're moving into, because it is unique. It may not be unique to the Hindus and the Indians and things over there, but they can't communicate to us well what they are experiencing, and I've not heard of the common people being able to do what we're doing anyway. It's just the gurus and the lamas and the higher evolved beings that can do this stuff, and they have not really, to me, communicated to their people all their gifts, abilities, and knowledge. And I, for one, I'm not going to hold it back. I think it is our time to express it and get it out there to the world, all the potentials of who we are and what we can be, and where we're going with all of this. Because the understanding is beginning to come through now. And so let's hear from a couple of the other people. Catherine, what have you felt?
I have felt total joy because everyone is understanding, and I don't need to try to explain with words I don't have, because everyone is feeling and knowing and being what they can and are. I will ask the listening audience to be very discerning on what music they listen to and what sounds they are around, because that will affect them also, man-made, irritating noises. And just keep the love flowing in your heart and know that if one can do, all can, because we are all one. And it's a delight. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Rich, what are you experiencing through this period?
Well, my body's going through a lot of changes. But going back to what you were talking about language, I had a guy call me last night about 10 o'clock, and he had seen my ad in a magazine, and he was on the Big Island, and he was telling me that he was involved in becoming awakened. And he wanted to know, he had some questions he wanted to ask me, and he'd been reading all the stuff from the India gurus. And he was completely confused about it. And it got me thinking about, I tried to explain to him about subtle energy and what we know. Because the way we break it down, and that's why this group's so important, is, and what you're doing, Frank, is you're being able to break it down to a language that we can understand. And the Eastern philosophy stuff, those people have mastered it, but to try to explain it to other people, they're at a loss on how to. This guy, he's on the island of Kona. He's living in a tent, isolated by himself, trying to fast and do all this stuff. And but he doesn't have a clue where he's going with it. And that's the beauty of trying to define, like listening to Stephen as he helps you define these definitions of what's going on, because there's really a need to be able to explain to people what's going on with the process of what's happening with them. Because there's a lot of people out there that are experiencing Kundalini flows. I tried to explain to him he was having Kundalini and he didn't understand what it was. And the only way he could maintain was to chant mantras. And but he didn't understand what the mantras said. So it brought me back to being thankful that we have a methodology that we can try to explain things to people in a much simpler way.
Well, I think that's the important point, is keep it simple, keep it understandable, and in language that people can relate to, and share our experiences, because people can share and the feeling of an experience if they have had a similar thing, and they can relate to it that way. So I think the language of feeling is what we're beginning to learn to communicate here. Teresa, where are you at in these occasions?
I really liked what JP said when he said the word making sense. It was an aha for me, because what it said was, as you're just talking about the language of feeling, when we have those aha moments, it's when all of those.
Oh, I think we lost you, Teresa. Trace, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, we lost you for a moment.
Oh, okay. I'll just back up a little bit. Talking about when JP said the word or the phrase making sense. And we're talking about the language of the universe and what DNA can hear. When we make sense of something, it's that aha moment when all the senses come together and they're all resonating a harmony, a harmonic that in pure balance. And I think that's that aha moment we all experience. And I think the DNA also here as well. So it's just one that was my aha that I think I'm going to carry on thinking about. And with the overall experiences that I've been having is the intensity, to be honest, is almost too much to the point where I feel I thought one day I was insane. Everything I talk about or I'm doing to do with this seems so far away from where other people are. And then it comes back to these aha moments and I go, no, this is just on another level. Mm-hmm. So there are those intensities what we're all feeling for sure, from dizziness to absolute delight and into awe and those aha moments. So it is a mixed bag, but I think it feels a little bit mixed because it is so intense, but we just need to, again, go back to making sense, sorting out the harmonic of those understandings so that they are balanced. Mm-hmm. And we can go from one aha moment to the next.
Precious, thank you. Diane, what's your experience?
Hi, Frank. How are you doing?
Good.
I had a great awareness during the week of how quickly now everything's manifesting. That I had to put two and two together. That it had to have been something to do with the tones coming up, because I started realizing and using your technique a lot more consistently of accessing the subconscious and being aware of what thoughts I was allowing to be there. I had one hellacious day. It was very funny, though, because everything went wrong from start to finish, and I saw it, how I was creating it. Somehow I still had to carry through with it for the whole day before I let it all go, but I wasn't perturbed at all. I kept seeing how I was doing it, and it was kind of fascinating. And then everything just started falling back into place, and I feel the awareness has jumped, substantially, and that's that's continuing on. It's like a presence that's much easier to maintain, and if I even give an intention, just a subtle intention to my subconscious, it's manifesting so rapidly. I'm just laughing all the time because the synchronicities are not synchronicities anymore. It's just one thing after the other. It's just becoming natural, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm looking forward to see where I go with that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's great. Joan, what's your experience?
Well, I had a great week. I think I felt my heart was definitely more open and much more receptive to new ideas. Physically, I felt my heart was just bursting with joy. And I think that seems to be a common thread we all share this evening is joy in our heart. Like I said, my mind has been sharp. I do believe I experienced some level of Kundalini a couple days ago, which was very informative. Enjoyed it much.
All right. Okay, who we missed? Mike, what's happening with you?
No, it's a little challenging out here. I'm still dealing with post-surgery and returning to chemo stuff, so just plugging along.
All right. Well, hang in there. It'll all change very quickly now when you get stabilized and come back into your personal power. We have a guest that pops in occasionally, and that's Kimmery. I'd like to ask Kimmery, since you have been participating in the active group, have you felt any of these sensation things happening to you through your system?
Yeah, Frank, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I have been pulsing with Susan and keeping in touch with her. We've been in and out and traveling a lot in different cities and on reservations where there's not a whole lot of internet and phone service. But I have felt a lot of the healing energy that this group has been right in step with what seems to be happening with a lot of these communities that are focused on group healing and support. So for me personally, what I have been feeling is I've been feeling very connected to this group. It's likened to the kite, and but in this case it's more like a giant balloon, and I feel the tethers of this group sort of holding that big balloon in place until which time we can all sort of, fly. So it's been very hard to be grounded when I'm feeling all of this inflow. And I'm so grateful for it, and I'm sitting here and I'm completely grateful. I'm not surprised because of all the work that this group has been doing over the years. I'm grateful, but I'm amazed. I'm in awe of how in step we all are becoming. It is a unifying field that I'm witnessing right now.
And you can feel the unified frequency of this group, can't you? The intensity that we're pulling together, that we can broadcast over the airwaves.
It really is incredible. Honestly, it feels like we're all becoming light giants, if that makes sense. The grid is, like someone said earlier, it really is becoming harder and harder to put it in language. So shows like this, Frank and JP, I'm so thrilled because it really is the bridge helping us all understand the heart language, and we're having to use language to understand heart language. Mm-hmm. So it's very tricky.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, that's good confirmation for us, validation. And that brings me to the next point I'd like to discuss with you all is we have a new level, a new level of intent and frequency and communication capacity. And it isn't so much through what we say as what we resonate. And so right now I'd like to pull your conscious together with me so we can work on developing the grid out there, the grid of consciousness that we triggered and are working with a few weeks ago out through the internet, so that everyone listening or everyone who is sitting in front of a computer feels this heightened frequency of energy. Because we know that we're being directed and amplified through this unconscious pool of energy that surrounds us out here. And this is what I learned from Tiller today. Or I didn't learn it. I got confirmation from. Is that there is an inexhaustible total. How can I express it? The words. Abundance of force, life force energy around everything. And it isn't in the electromagnetic spectrum. It's in the subtle energy system. Like I said before, it exists everywhere, even between the planets and on out into the stellar system. And that force is, when we learn to direct that through us and amplify our consciousness, our communicative skills, and understand that what we're directing here is not so much language as feeling, and that feeling itself, that pattern, that focus, that intensity of light that passes into us, through us, with that we program with our intent, and passes on out through the airways and through every computer out there that's hooked up in the internet. That is where we'll be the most powerful. So I'd like to do that now, and simply talking about that. Do you feel that the heightened energy come into your system? Your hands begin to burn? It's just here. It's just around us. It's just waiting to express with our intent. And this is what the galactic flow has given us, and it's what we're being prompted to communicate through. So let's just, we're all sitting here looking at a computer now, and rather than looking at a thing outside of us, periphery to us, just reach your hands out, your etheric hands and arms, and encompass that computer and pull it into your system, or you move into its system, whatever most comfortable for you. But just close your eyes and imagine yourself moving into that computer and not necessarily getting entwined in the electronics or hung up there, but through the system, the subtle energy system that holds its functionality together. Now let's just reach out and feel through the subtle system. And that subtle system is that way back state that I take you into. Well, let's do it so everyone that's listening will know how to do that. I'll show you how to access the subtle energy system that holds everything in form and where the power is. Just get in a totally comfortable position, uncross your feet so you're grounded straight into the earth. Take a couple of deep breaths and let them go, just focusing yourself inward. Take your point of attention up to your forehead. This is where you are now, is in your mental, emotional center in the frontal lobes of the brain, in the cortex of the brain. Now move back deeper. Step back out of the frontal lobes. And the first place you step into there is the soul center. Your soul center. Now, we've been connecting through the lateral planes of consciousness to everyone in the world. This time, in your soul center, extend your soul out through the subtle energy system of the web, of the internet. And you feel that incredible contact just opening up. This is very similar to what we feel when we go into the golden grid, around the Earth, which incidentally I got confirmation of to do. The scientists have discovered that's there, that what we've created is actually a form out there. So that's good confirmation too. Okay, there now. Now you're connected in through the electromagnetic subtle energy grid. Realizing the electromagnetic is just like our neurons in our brains. It's something that communicates in this physical form. But the subtle energy form has a whole much more greatly enhanced capacity to communicate. Now step on back a step further, and you enter into the psychic realm in the region of the pituitary. Now this is actually, this one is through our psychic center, which is a step back from the physical communication center. This is the upper levels of the subtle energy system. Expand laterally out through the psychic system, where we can directly communicate one to another or into groups. Now step back a step further into the subconscious mind that is the chakra system. Extend your awareness down through the chakra system, and always pause to go into the 0 point to the heart center, which holds our bit of God force consciousness that holds everything in the physical form. It is what communicates between the subtle energy system and the physical world that it holds in form. Now take your awareness on down the spine, out the base of the spine, down into earth mind. There's 12 chakras there also in earth mind. This is the female polarity. This is the female polarity. That's the God force consciousness in the 0 point uses to manifest form. So everything that's ever happened is held in earth mind, in standing waves of consciousness, and in the surface of the crust of the earth in silicon dioxide. It's one gigantic computer chip. So it holds everything that's ever happened, and this is the source of instinctive consciousness that holds the form in the physical, mental, emotional world. And so to change anything in that mental, emotional world, this is where we have to go. We have to change it back here. All right, now just maintain that connection and come back up the spine to the 0 point again. Now you're in the low self on this side. Now move up through into the high self, through the crown chakra and into oversoul. There's 12 more chakras here in that third octave, or first octave. And just reach up through that to oversoul. This is a level that I call the thinkers. The thinkers, that's the consciousness of the subtle energy realm that holds through its intent everything in form. That's the male principle, the male spark of life, and the foundation of life. Now bring your awareness, just bring that energy back down to the 0 point, and bring up energy from the female up into the 0 point. Now you're holding the potential right there to manifest or demanifest anything in your reality in this midplane of consciousness. Oversoul, midsoul, and undersoul. We have 3 soul levels of consciousness. All right, now stepping back out of that, just hold that. It's like becoming the observer as you step back into the subtle energy field, and this is the critical one that I've been talking about. This is what we can't access And unless we learn how to step back and feel yourself expand, become that incredible pool of energy that everything rises from. It's like looking at being in a lake of energy and observing wisps and tendrils of information rise up into the group mind consciousness of the world through DNA. That's interesting. Look at the DNA of every living thing now on the earth. It's held in form by this subtle energy field. And this is the God force consciousness. And this is not communicated with A plus B equals C, the rational reasoning. It's hard to even hold the function in the mental level here. You can't, because this is all done with this open, no time, no space, inner knowing. When you step into that field, you just expand out and feel the total oneness of everything, because this is everything. Just allow your conscious mind to just quieten down now. Let it listen for the subtle impulses that rise from the oversoul and the undersoul. And this is where you send your desire, your intent to change anything in your physical reality. And you do it by simply formulating your intent, your prayer, so to speak, and dropping it into this pool of consciousness that is totally willing to work with us if our requests are reasonable, and it enhances the evolution of life in any form. And this is the world of dominion you're feeling back here, where everything that rises from here rises into form, in dominion. And any of the old forms of domination that are held in the instinctive consciousness from the past standing ways of earth can simply be quieted, released from this level. And you feel that incredible power that simply by directing your intent as a encapsulated ball of light goes into this level, and the response comes as the manifestation of your desire and will. And the reason we can do this is that we are all aspects of the God force consciousness. And the subjective forms we've been experiencing for the last thousands or hundreds of thousands of years on this planet were allowed to happen so we could experience all negative potentials in the human form. And we did. We experienced all the worst things possible of being human. So that as we gained an access to the power and the access to this incredible source and force of energy that is the subtle fields of consciousness, we will do no wrong. We will harm no living thing. We will live and express in dominion, which simply means that we care for and nurture all things of the environment, all things of possessing DNA, and so that all creatures can enjoy life and the enhancement and evolution of their species. And feel your hands, how hot your hands are now. Now we're resonating this out through the grid we've created, the subtle energy grid that follows the electromagnetic grid of the internet. We send this knowing, this power to every wire, every frequency, every radio wave around the world. This is dominion. And you feel the entire frequency ranges of the world shifting and rising. And this rising wave of consciousness is going to engulf things like the domination forces, the harp energy, everything they've created to hold us in suppression. We're simply engulfing them now with this rising wave, rising from the subtle energy field with that incredible energy that is ours potentially coming into form. And we feel this encompassing the entire world. And we feel it resonating into Earth mind, into the instinctive consciousness of Earth mind, that this becomes a natural state rather than domination. This is the way it was intended to be. And we feel the galactic flow coming through us, resonating on our hands, giving us the intent and direction in these packets of inner knowing, and how to express ourselves and how to communicate, how to manifest dominion. Now let's hold this as we come back at our own level of awareness. Let's continue to hold that extensive field of consciousness and just let it resonate until it becomes the permanent state. JP, we'll take a break now and come back in 4 minutes and continue and see what we can do with this power.
Welcome back.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now, everyone check yourself, see if you're holding that feeling of expanded consciousness. What I'd like to do now is invite the galactic flow to come in with us and use the tones to amplify this around the world through the grid we've established, and implant that with Rachel's toning. So let's just all step back into that state of follow your pathway back through the third eye back in your expanded state of consciousness again. Step all the way back into the subtle energy field. And I'm sending the request to the galactic to bring the tones through to see if we can communicate this with our intent of dominion into the airways and through the electromagnetic communication systems of the internet. They come in at their own volition, so all we can do is ask. And sometimes they don't respond, just to make us do it ourselves. Diane, can you give us some tones with your bowl to see if that'll stimulate the galactic flow?
Okay.
The flow is coming through. It's extremely subtle. That gives us the opportunity to add our intent to it as we blend with our computers, extend ourselves outward, carrying dominion out to every computer in the world that's hooked up to the internet or any other device, even through the Wi-Fi setups.
And all the servers and server farms.
The running water frequencies are so soothing and so natural. Now, everyone listening out there that would normally come to us for healing, this is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to heal yourselves, knowing it can be done. This is what allows it to happen, is a sure and perfect inner knowing that it is possible, it is happening now. And you, through this interconnection of group mind consciousness, you can send healing to anyone you want, knowing you are just as fully capable of doing it as we are. This is letting go of the limitations and the restrictions imposed on us by centuries and centuries and centuries of limitation and suppression. Let it all go now and feel the joy pour in your heart. With the inner knowing, you're totally capable. This is your right by divine authority. The healing is what opens your consciousness to all incredibly powerful tools that you have at your disposal. Incidentally, that the one that came through was so impactful for the members of the group, the Earth Mind group, was, you'll find in the archives, it's the March 2nd recording. All right, they're telling me to use what we have. So, Diane, can you pull that up and play it again for us? So, while we hold the frequency forms.
The recording from the second?
Yeah.
It'll take me a minute, okay?
Right.
Okay.
That's interesting. Who just muted?
Diane, I believe.
That was me. Why?
All right. Yeah, you got a lot of background noise. That's all.
I just have a crappy mic. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I think she's a portal to carry the sound. Both her and Rachel in the past have been the portal for the sound to come through.
That's true. Rachel, would you like to give us a tone to see if you can bring in the frequencies?
Do you want it for bringing in the frequencies or for what we just did for the Dominion?
Both, yeah. Set what we just did and see if it'll open up the galactic tones.
Je cole malor hiale monyane ane humalea hale ale ho halina inchalende kunyane honyane hale hale namu onje hey halor hiale mato hanemor hialende kurama kurama enyane halemo alina hajarama kili adwaki hanama.
And here's the recording. Let me know when you want me to turn it off.
All right.
Can you hear it okay?
Yeah.
Go into that really step back state. Totally clear your thoughts. Listen way back deep to this. All right, let's make the request. Show us your world, please.
All right, you'll notice your heart chakra is opening as we listen to this. Any resistance you feel in your body, just let this wash it away, clear it away. put your awareness on the star Sirius and make connection with your home planet.
Okay, Rachel and Teresa. That way step back state did you go into? Did you experience that, and what did you see or feel?
I did. It wasn't quite as deep as before. It was deep. I got multiple things. I saw whales. There's that large whale energy. And then going out into the universe, the stars, and there's like a Morse code, like it's sending this information to my third eye, and my third eye is with the sound frequency. It does this pulsing it's hard to describe it. Mm-hmm. And then you go out into these different bands of energy, and there's like different star systems, different frequencies, different. There's like. I did feel a strong presence of a whale, and then it even showed me the eye of the whale.
Teresa, what did you see?
I saw mine was more shapes and colors. I had interruptions also of events from the day, just words popping in. But I saw washes of turquoise and indigo, and I'm having trouble talking for the first time. I feel like my mouth can't seem to form a word properly.
It's weird, there's a lot of energy around my lips.
Yeah.
It's almost like a numbing. I have that too.
Okay, Diane, I think that'll do it.
Okay. There we go.
All right, now that was the recording, but we know that it will, anyone listening to that can pick it up and get the effects of it, because Joan did this last week. And so I invite anyone who wants to have this extended, expanded consciousness to listen to that. Listen to it on Wolf Spirit Radio, and we apologize for the lack of quality of the presentation, but the energy is there. My whole body just feels like it's gone numb at the present time. Any feedback from anyone else?
I had a beautiful experience. The first time that we did this, I recall also being placed inside of a gigantic emerald crystal It wasn't solid, but it was like a hologram, and it went in between all of my cells. And today, as I re-entered that path back to Sirius, I asked the question to please direct me to the harmonic of perfect balance. And they showed me this beautiful white or clear, perfect crystal with points on each end. And I asked, do I need the green crystal? And then they showed me that all of the colored crystals were pulled into the white one, and that it's like all of those reflections of sparkles showed the colors that of all of the other crystals that were pulled into it. So that just occurred to me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
This journey. It's beautiful.
And what I'm seeing is that the 6 sides with the double terminator crystal are representative of the opposite polarities. There's 3 opposition polarities there which hold the form of the crystal, and those are the 3 orbital dimensions that we talk about of the 3rd dimension. And the double terminated crystal has the capacity of totally clearing our systems by pulling the energy, whatever our negativity may be, through the sides of the crystals and neutralizing them and shooting those energies out to the end of the double terminator. And it's a wonderful clearing sensation. And just as you focus your attention, you're on the visualization of that double terminator 6-sided crystal with the 3 polarities of the 3rd dimension clearing out of your system. You can move that double terminator, even if it's in your mind, up and down through the various chakra levels, radiating, clearing your system out, not only the sides, but the front and back and the up and down, to hit all the poles of the 3rd dimensional reality, clearing your system of that, and then immediately you lift it, your vibration frequency will rise up into the 4th dimension. And that's what's happened to those of us who have listened to this tape and followed that procedure is the clarity to rise in to the 4th dimension. And now our challenge is to learn how to use it, how to create that 4th dimensional reality that's uniquely human to us, and not follow necessarily the patterns of any other planetary system or culture that's already in form. It's just like being rebirthed again, only birthed into a higher potential of we're just children, and so it's our responsibility to listen and learn, and in our moments of choice to make the right choice, not only for ourselves, but for everything and everyone we're involved with. All right, now we're in an incredible healing field now. Any of you who requested healing or want to project healing, take this opportunity to do so. David, I think your mic. The horse is speaking.
He's talking double.
I'm sorry?
Your mic was open.
Oh, I can.
isn't this a wonderful expanded feeling we have now? It just keeps on going out and out and out. And this is that listening state that I talk about so much. And the listening comes as just impulses of knowing. You put your point of attention, your mind on anything, and stay in the step back state, and don't push it with your conscious mind. Just let it come and rise into the conscious mind. And that's where you extrapolate the information and then download it into your chakra systems so it'll be permanent. This is also where you can go into the 0 point and demanifest things like illnesses or standing waves of anything that's disharmonious in your reality, and remanifest the positive reality. This is the opportunity to move and create. Does anyone have any comments?
I've got a double terminated amethyst crystal over my heart chakra. Mm-hmm. And as I go down through the chakras, I'm trying to eliminate all the negatives out. Mm-hmm. You're working.
Is that one from Joan's Hallelujah Mind?
No, this is just it's about 2 inches long. Double. I just saw it sitting on the counter, so I grabbed it. I do have one of hers, though. I have to go find it. No, it's more powerful.
Yeah, perhaps we'll have a class again with the crystals because they are so powerful in helping to create and alter your reality. For those who have been to the Crystal Palace, it's almost redundant to have to go back and think about using crystals again in their physical reality here, but what we don't really consciously realize or understand is that we're under a constant barrage of influences and forces that push at us every moment of every day and every sleeping moment. And the crystals can help to remind us to do our clearing work and to protect and shield ourselves, particularly as you rise up in the frequency ranges. We are and will be challenged. And that challenge is that comes from the opposition force, is to make you use your abilities. Because if you can overcome these challenges that come, you're strengthened not only in your knowledge of how to do things, but in your resolve to not be attracted into those lower frequency ranges of the third dimensional planes of action and interactions. Learning to let go is the primary thing. Let go, let go, let go. I'm speaking to those of you who do not have the clarity of the Earth Mind Think Tank group, but are striving to learn and evolve. What you're doing, and everyone constantly is doing, although we're not aware of it, is we're interacting in an octave of the middle dimension and learning lessons and clearing, letting go. And that we learn the lessons or accumulate information and energy and experiences as we move out laterally in that octave. And then when it comes time to move up, you move back in and release the physical things and just keep the mental gifts and knowledge that you've gained. And you come in to the point of where everything drops away and you're in what I call the neck of the bottle. As you go up through the neck of the bottle into the next frequency range, you really, with full intent and determination, have to let go of everything. And as you let go, everything comes as clarity and purity, so that when you pop out into the next dimension, you have the right to reach back and bring anything with you that you value or that you want to choose to experience in the next level. And there's 12 levels in each one of these primary dimensions that we get to experience and move up through. And right now, the majority of the world is about the fourth to fifth level, which is still in the low self chakra system, as they're striving to move up above the heart center of Earth, because everything directly responds and resonates directly back with the Earth chakra system. And it holds all the desirable things and the sensory things and the addictive things that like to pull you back down into the old forms of consciousness. But as you release and move upward, less and less and less will you be attracted to those addictive earth plane things, even things of personality and character traits like greed, and jealousy, and envy, and avarice, and all the negative things are found in that low self range. And as you move up into the heart center and can truly move into the higher level of consciousness, it's still an experiential realm, but you keep moving up through the levels of learning and interactive consciousness until you get to the point where you can totally release this third dimension and pop into the fourth dimension. And that's what this group who you heard expressing tonight has done. And the freedom, the clarity, and the joy is just incredible. Plus, the developing psychic and spiritual gifts are opening up too. Because for this group, the DNA is reassembling. And quite rapidly, as the DNA further assembles new strands, incredible opportunities will come to them, and they become co-creators and interactive in creating not only their reality, but the physical reality of the world, that hundreds of other groups are doing the same thing out there, using their own particular methodology or understanding of how things work. They're all moving upward. It's happening. The shift is happening. The fourth dimension is upon us now. As we accept it and realize it and reach always upward, letting go, releasing anything that holds you in the physical form by its attraction or by perceived need. And literally, as you go through the neck of that bottle, you don't need anything. But you go through it as awareness that anything you particularly want or need in the next dimension, you can manifest it or bring it back into your life again, in your reality. And this comes right down even to the level of relationships. And that's the one that hurts many times, is having to let go of a relationship that might be limiting to you. But always, as you move higher, those bonds into the relationship will tend to pull the other one upward also, unless they're grounded into the domination world. And that is their lesson to learn, and you can't be responsible for their lessons. Sometimes you have to cut those bonds to allow them to grow. Any comments? Catherine, I can hear you thinking, always do it with unconditional love.
That is the only way. Love is everything. I found it interesting you were talking about the 6 terminated crystal, because I had one with me this weekend when I was at the beach. And I didn't lose it on the beach, but I've misplaced it, and it's, I believe, in the beach house that I was staying at. And I realize now that it was supposed to stay at the beach and be there just for this reason. So thank you.
It will be resonating into the silicon dioxide sand on that beach, so that everyone who walks on that beach will be uplifted. This is the trail we leave behind us everywhere we go now, is the things we touch, the people we touch. Go out and touch others, and it's a spreading, glowing enlightenment of everything and everybody that is transient and mobile. So just let that flood of unconditional love pour out of your hearts, out into the physical, mental, emotional world, as well as the electronic world. Feel that happening now. It's in that resonance to empower. How interesting. I feel a force, a flow coming through us because of our connection now. It's just like a beam of light passing through us and out through our unified consciousness into the world. It has purity and clarity. This is a state of consciousness that few have ever experienced in the world before. Now it can become available and common to everyone. And this is what we'll experience in the fourth dimension, where we'll be ageless. All information will be available to us. There will be no armies, no borders, no domination, no banks, no hospitals, no doctors. Teaching will be spontaneous and automatic, simply with the sharing of information. All thoughts, all feelings will be mutually expressed and understood when people meet. Communication will be a level of knowledge and love of communication, of empowerment.
Well, talking about doctors and hospitals, did you want to do a couple requests tonight?
Well, I invited those folks to do their own healing, and we certainly can. Healing request from Diane. Name unknown accident in Phelan, California, near her home. One man died and his brother in critical condition. Happened Friday night just before dark. Vehicle rolled over a high-speed Jeep trail. 2 men were airlifted out. What we can do is now extend to everyone in the world who has traumatic experiences where people died, through them express the unconditional love of assisting their souls to transcend through the Book of the Dead process. And then simply say that word, the Book of the Dead, you felt an opening. That's the universe responding to our desire to release these souls, to take them through the right and proper passage, to clear them of any karma and any physical world attachments, so they can be free to evolve, so their family can be released, so they can do their mourning and release. The brother that's in critical condition we wrap him in unconditional love, which holds all the frequencies necessary to heal his condition, to accelerate his healing. Through the power of the Christ within us, we see that happening now. You feel that radiant energy coming out of your hands. There's no time or space. This is the subtle energy field you're working in when that occurs. And it's not just limited to healing. You can use it for anything. Anything that's in dominion. Teresa, healing request. Arlene Dickinson, London, Canada. Please clear the native entity. Let's put our attention on Arlene and just open the cross-dimensional portal for that entity or those entities and just release them back into their own right and proper plane. Use a counterclockwise, negative, repulsing portal for these, and it just bounces them right out and they're gone. David, his friend Terry, has a psycho neighbor across the hall, needs help, healing, holding those release entities and give them an opportunity to come back into their own centered focus of consciousness. So again, with counterclockwise vortex, sucking out the entities, clearing and releasing, helping their mental stability to come back into form, clear the he has a bad possessive thing. Woohoo. Put lots of energy on that, suck it out, let him go. Now we assign an angel to him to redirect his consciousness to clarity and understanding, bring him back into the human consciousness again. Request for even more bills to be released this week. Wrap him in protective energy to shield him from any further attack by the adverse powers. Free Sovereign, have an early input healing session in the second hour. Charles in St. Joseph's Hospital, Kansas, had his left leg amputated above the knee. Sudden complications from diabetes. Will be undergoing many months of rehab. His wife Cynthia's sight impaired, wrapped him in a flow of unconditional love. Give them life force and empowerment to inspire their own systems to find their way and course and to release the lessons that they have learned by taking on all this negativity. I'm feeling right with clockwise now, rotating them in light and giving them freedom from the standing waves of their past conditions, releasing them, healing, giving them direction, and giving his wife sight. Giving them new opportunities, new direction, to sustain and empower them to sustain. Okay, JP, do we have anyone else at this time?
Let me just have a look there, Frank. Norm's also saying when they visited Charles this afternoon, he thanked me that I would have the group send him spiritual energy. So, thank you very much. We got the psycho, that's it. I think we're about done. Do you want to finish early, Frank?
Yeah, I'd like to wrap up here a little bit.
That's fine. I've got some cool music to play before Eva's show, which has got a very interesting guest from the Keshe Foundation.
All right. Everyone, you're in a beautiful state of expanded consciousness now. And we send that wave out not only to the listening audience, but around the world, to the computers, resonated into Earth's mind to clear the old patterns and forms, giving the impulse, the impetus to grow and expand and make right choice, so that everyone instinctively and intuitively can begin or accelerate their growth of consciousness. To the power of the Christ within us, we extend love and compassion to everyone in need around the world. We particularly direct attention to the financial systems around the world to bring them into stability and balance so that everyone will be supported and nurtured and find the abundance they're entitled to and deserve. And we just feel the frequency of the world lifting now. And this power is rising directly out of the subtle energy system that it surrounds and empowers everyone. So we're lifting that up into the consciousness, lifting everyone up in the frequencies towards the fourth dimension. To the power of the Christ within us, it is so. Do you have any further comments from the group?
Thank you very much, Frank. It was wonderful tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wolf Spirit.
Hey, Frank, could we take a couple minutes and clear my daughter, Michelle, of she's been experiencing depression, and I'm working on her. Could we just send some of this energy to her?
Where is she?
She's in Boise.
All right. We just reach out to Michelle, and we see the emotional stress that's causing her conflict, and so we help her to find the right choice and self-realization, find her inner core, so those disappointments and hurts out there, and we feel it strongly in our throat chakra. We clear our throat chakra, that sorrow, those shocks, release that confusion concerning her own inner reality and who she is. There, thank you, that felt good. And we stand her on her own 2 feet and open her heart to the fact that she is loved, and she is empowered, and she is worth loving. To the power of the conscious in us, we set Michelle in the perfect and normal condition, and we set her on her path so she can attract to her what she needs to sustain and support her through life. And it is. Oh, that felt good.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're about there, JP.
One last thing. And this is from Norm, through Norm, really, and for us all, really. Energy, Eva is expecting Bill to be released this week. And if we could kind of seal and protect that outcome in some way that, that brings it everything, because we know that that's the right timeline, is when Bill is released. That's the right timeline.
Exactly. Bill is ready to start to set his feet on a new path now. And the main thing is for him to let go of Al. Because that's a war that he has made for the assets that he can never win. let go of the war and took the lesson and move on to hope and love in his heart, to lift him into a higher state of consciousness where we'll let the dark side go, let it go, because it's using those like him as an example to put fear into the rest of us. It's time to let go of his martyrship now, stand on his own and create a life for himself and he lives through the power that Christ is in us. We see that happening, wrap them in unconditional love and release them and clear them of the negative forces and influences that hold them in form. And let go of the war. It's one you can never win with direct conflict. You can only win it through empowerment and unconditional love. And so it is. All right. There we go.
Excellent, Frank. So thank you very much, everybody. And I'll just play the out. And thank you very much. Good night, everybody. See you next week.
We'll see you all next Wednesday.
Uh-huh.